Playoff time in the NFL, and we start off from the NFC Championship game where the Atlanta Falcons will host the Green Bay Packers. Both teams coming into this game having won their divisional championship round in different fashions. The Atlanta Falcons beat the Seattle Seahawks at home 36-20, so large margin of victory there, while the Cowboys lost at home to the Packers 34-31. Personally, I like Atlanta in this game. Matt Ryan has showed a lot of poise and has improved his game a lot in the playoffs. He was 1-4 prior to the game against the Seahawks, and of course we all know how it went there with the Falcons winning by 16. Of course, Matt Ryan not the only player the Packers will have to watch out for. A great rushing game by the Atlanta Falcons with Devonta Freeman, who has over 1,000 yards rushing, and Tevin Coleman with 520 rushing yards. So they got good backs. And of course, on the wings, they have a great receiving core with Julio Jones, almost 1,500 yards on the season. Mohamed Sanu playing well, 653 yards, and Taylor Gabriel, 579 yards. So the only way for the Packers to stop the best offense in the league in the Atlanta Falcons will have to be to limit their running yards and limit the catching yards. Unfortunately, I do not see this happening for two main reasons. I do not believe in the Packers secondary. There's no way they can stop Julio Jones. There's no way they can stop Mohamed Sanu. They can't stop Taylor Gabriel. So I honestly see the Atlanta Falcons coming away with a victory here. Also, I find it difficult to imagine the Green Bay Packers defensive line stopping the run, especially with Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman playing at the level they are playing right now. The weakness I do see for the Atlanta Falcons, however, is in their defense. Apart from, Vic Beasley has been playing insane, 15.5 sacks this season. But their weak point has always been their defense, so the Green Bay Packers have to play great offense in order to outscore the Falcons, because that's the only way they're going to win this game. Speaking of Green Bay, they are on fire right now. Coming from a huge victory against the Giants where they were the underdogs, and then coming away with a huge victory in Arlington against the Dallas Cowboys because of that man right there, Aaron Rodgers, who always finds a way to get it done. He's at 4,400 passing yards right now with a 65.7% completion percentage. He's got, a QBR of 104.2, arguably one of the best quarterbacks ever. Right now, between him and Tom Brady, it's a tough game, but I really like Aaron Rodgers and what he can do, and of course, he can do it in any game at any moment. We have seen that many times, with the Hail Mary passes. We've seen it against the Cowboys. He always finds a way to get it done. The Packers have been playing well, that is true. Their offense has really stepped up a lot. Their running game with Ty Montgomery has improved without Eddie Lacy, and they do have a strong receiving core, with Devontae Adams, who almost has 1,000 receiving yards on the year. They got Randall Cobb out there, and of course Jared Cook, who can pull off incredible catches like we saw in the game against the Cowboys. The offense is not a problem for Green Bay. The only issue here is you cannot outscore the Falcons. They will always come back and always score. That's why they have the best offense in the league. So this will not work for the Packers if they try to outscore the Atlanta Falcons. The issue here with the Packers is that their defense and their secondary isn't as good. And now they'll have to go against a monster in Julio Jones. You cannot double Julio Jones because that will leave other receivers wide open for catches. Therefore, their secondary has to be very, very, very careful. And that is the reason I see them losing this game. Their offense is not a problem. They will score points. They will put up points. They did that against the Cowboys. But then, like in the game against the Cowboys, their defense wasn't there in the second half. And the Cowboys almost came back and won that game. They cannot do that against the Falcons because they are even more efficient and offensively potent than the Cowboys. So the only way to win this game is their defense has to step up. Let's move on now to the AFC Championship game and the heavy favorite New England Patriots facing off against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Both teams come into this game differently. The Texans lost to the Patriots 16-34 in the divisional playoff round. The Patriots played an awful first half. Tom Brady was subpar, but they came back and won it in the second half. The Steelers, on the other hand, won 18-16 in Kansas City just by scoring field goals. To me, this is a really difficult game to call. New England is favored by 6, making Pittsburgh the underdogs in this match. However, I believe Pittsburgh has a better chance than that in winning this game, but I still like the Patriots, of course, with the 14-2 record. They demolished the Houston Texans, and they got that man right there, Tom Brady, at quarterback, who has missed the first 4 games of the season, but then has thrown for 3,554 yards this season already. They got a great rushing core with LeGarrette Blount, over 1,000 yards this season, and Dion Lewis coming off the bench, almost 300 yards rushing. They also have a great receiving core. Julian Edelman leading that. He's got 98 receptions for 1,106 yards. Martellus Bennett, 55 receptions for 701 yards. Chris Hogan, 38 receptions for 680 yards. Doing all this without Rob Gronkowski, who throughout the season only had 25 receptions for 540 yards and is not playing due to injury. In this game, New England just has to do what they've been doing all year. They can run the ball, they can pass the ball, and they can really do it all. Their defense is stacked, their offensive line is stacked, all around great team. The key in this game for the New England Patriots is to stop the Killer Bees, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and of course Big Ben Roethlisberger. In order to do that, they have to put pressure on the quarterback, force him to throw quickly, throw some incomplete passes, especially in the red zone. That's exactly what happened against Kansas City, where they scored 6 field goals and were never able to get into the red zone. That will fly against Kansas City. It will not fly against the Patriots. They will beat you if you try and beat them by scoring field goals. Speaking of the Pittsburgh Steelers, they came into this game with a completely different path compared to their opponents in the New England Patriots. They won their wildcard round 30-12 against the Miami Dolphins, won their divisional round 18-16, as I mentioned, against the Kansas City Chiefs, with a controversial ending with Kansas City hitting a 2-point conversion that had to be repeated and was then missed. Pittsburgh Steelers, of course, a great team, great offensive line, and great offense in general. You got Big Ben, 3,819 yards passing this season, and they got great running back, arguably the best running back in the NFL in Le'Veon Bell, with almost 1,300 receptions. He has been playing insane. He is incredibly evasive. He is incredibly fast, and he is a great catcher. And then, of course, speaking of catchers, you got the man himself, Antonio Brown, 106 receptions, 12 touchdowns, 1,284 receiving yards on the season. He will be tough to stop. He can do it all. This offense can do it all. Offense, though, not the only weapon the Steelers have. They also have a good defensive line. Ryan Shazier has been playing well for them, 3.5 sacks, especially this playoffs. Bud Dupree has been amazing this season, played very well in these playoffs. He's got 4.5 sacks and 19 solo tackles. He has been great for them. This is a tough game for the Steelers. They have to put pressure on Tom Brady. That's the key in winning this game. I mentioned Dupree before. He has to get to the quarterback, has to tackle him, put him to the ground. Tom Brady hasn't looked that good against the Texans. Maybe that will continue against the Steelers, and then the offense has to come together. If the Patriots do end up scoring, the Steelers have to come back and score right back. That's the only way they can stay in this game. They have to keep on scoring. They have to put pressure on Tom Brady, and they have to stop LeGarrette Blount, because his rushing yards this year are insane. He's been playing at an all-star level. only way for the Steelers to win this game is to limit his yardage and therefore taking away a huge offensive weapon from the Patriots. This is going to be a great weekend of football. We'll talk about the results on Monday and see how all this plays out.